Hi, I'm Emilie.
And I'm Julia.
And this is the Bad Bitch podcast.
Welcome back, my lovelies. We've got some great topics as always.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about our sponsor first?
First, can I just say you look fantastic?
Oh, thank you.
I love this outfit. Very elegant.
Thank you so much. I thought I would make a ceremony about having it on the
No, you
couch.
should. You should absolutely. The dress deserves it. And I love how we never coordinate, but we're both in navy.
I know, and we never talk about it.
We never talk about it. We just
much like we don't. We
also don't talk about our podcast.
We turn up with a list of things to talk about, and somehow
it works.
Yeah, people. If this is not testimony to go after your dreams and just start doing things,
do it. Just
yes.
do it. Oh, can we actually? We'll do the sponsor in a second, but can we also thank all the people who have messaged us so far to say that they're really enjoying the podcast and that they actually appreciate that it is unedited. Yeah. It really is unedited, and we just speak off the cuff, and it's really authentic, and people are liking it. So we're going to keep doing it. And please tell us what you'd like us to talk about. But we're going to carry on because we're having a great time.
Yes, exactly. So we will be here probably until we're well into our 80s, if not 90s.
Oh my God, I hope so. The outfits are going to be fantastic.
100%. Live the outfits.
100%. Okay. So today.
And Tom Ford is our guest in the future.
Your guest. Your guest. Okay. So today we are sponsored by the fantastic Addressed Property Services run by the brilliant Nicci Stanway. Addressed is a bespoke property management service. So if you are a landlord anywhere in London or the Southeast and you want hassle-free property management, maybe you're about to swap tenants and you're looking at how much you're paying your existing estate agent and you're not getting great value for money, then Nicci is an absolute star. She's got so much experience in this sector. She's also one of those brilliant people who can multitask and do a million things at once. She is the absolute person you want in charge of your property. She'll make it hassle-free. She'll stay up to date on all the regulation, make sure that you're compliant so you can go and enjoy living your best life instead of worrying about managing your property. If you want to find out more, just go to www.addressed.ltd.
Perfect. I love that. What's been going on this week, my love?
Well, I went on the Hoffman.
Yes. This is the Fight Club we're not allowed to talk about, but you're going to talk about it.
Well, I'm going to talk about it.
Yes, please do.
So just for context, well, first of all, I've got to explain what the Hoffman is. And secondly, the Hoffman process, which is actually pretty famous, I did it 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So this is a mini Hoff.
Yes.
So once you've done the full...
Minhoff,
yeah. Once you've done the full Hoffman, which is 7 days, no phone, psychotherapy basically 12 hours a day. It's like a psychological enema every day. It's like
that's a brilliant
way.
It
is. It's 10 years of therapy in a week, and I'll talk about it in a more pleasant way in a minute. But it's super intense, but it's fantastic, absolutely life-changing. But once you've done it once, you can go back and do a mini one whenever you like. And I'd never felt a desire to, and then I felt inspired to do it now. And it's like a bit of a psychological detox refresher. They take your phone off you, and you can bring up, you can come with anything you want to deal with. In a second, I'll explain what the full process involves. But what was really interesting for me going through it a second time. First of all, it was absolutely wonderful. They create such an incredible environment. This is group therapy. Everyone who's there has your back. It's the most supportive thing you could possibly do. But what was really interesting, looking back over the last 10 years and seeing what I wanted to bring to this Hoffman, was that it's very easy in the kind of pace of life and things moving on. And you think in 10 years, we had the pandemic, right? So that was quite a major thing going on. A lot of changes that happened in my life. I realised, because we've talked before, I'm quite a stoic, that I push through things, or I recognise something as difficult and then I kind of brush myself off and keep going. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that really hit me on this second Hoffman that was really helpful was sometimes in the moment you can't deal with something difficult that's happening because you've got people relying on you or the world's falling apart or you've got bills to pay. And that's okay, but you actually need to go back and deal with those things. And however you need to do that, whether that's say you've lost someone, you need to go back for grief counselling, or whether sometimes it's just like having a good cry and expressing it. But it was amazing because I was able in this very safe space to acknowledge some of the difficult things that happened in the last 10 years that I thought I've dealt with, have them come up and deal with them emotionally. And I've come back feeling so much lighter.
Love this for you.
So I'm so grateful for going, but I want to spend a second, if you'll give me that,
of course,
to explain what the Hoffman is, in case we can inspire our listeners to go on the Hoffman.
I love it. Go for it.
So the Hoffman process was set up by a guy called Bob Hoffman in the 60s in California, where we know a lot of this stuff comes from, like therapeutic, different kinds of therapies come from. And it really touches on one of one of our podcasts that I know we shouldn't advertise our own podcast, but one of my favorite episodes that we've done is the saboteurs episode.
It was really good.
I loved that episode so much. I think we could do a whole other one on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it because we all know we do this. We all sabotage ourselves. We all have patterns of behavior. We don't necessarily know where they come from that are getting in the way of living our best life. And a really good example can be if you keep having the same relationship with a different person,
Mm-hmm.
which we hear people obviously talk about. Or if you set a goal, but then you let yourself get distracted, or you procrastinate, or you avoid it, or you're, last time we talked about difficult conversations, you're someone who avoids having those conversations. So as we get older, we start to recognize we have patterns and habits of behavior that aren't serving us.
Mm-hmm.
And what the Hoffman does, and I think they are possibly the best at it of any kind of therapy, it's absolutely incredible what they do, is they help you not only understand why you have those patterns of behavior and where they have come from, but they help you let go of them in quite a transformational way. It doesn't mean you won't ever have those patterns of behavior, but I have gone through it and I've seen other people go through it where they've gone into the Hoffman with extreme self-sabotaging behaviors and come out and never done them again.
Wow.
Which is remarkable. So I would love to share with anyone listening that if you know you're doing something that isn't healthy, if you're doing things in relationships and you wish you didn't do them, like, why am I even doing that? You can't stop yourself. Or it might even be in your parenting, you're finding that you're not really being the kind of parent you want to be, but you don't know why. Or you're not achieving your goals, or you're holding yourself back. Maybe there's something you really want, but you're just never going for it.
Mm-hmm.
The Hoffman, if you can afford to take a whole week off, because they also take your phone off you the whole time. So you're absolutely cut off from your family, from everyone, which is actually brilliant. By the end of it, you don't want your phone back. But if you feel like you need that shift, or if you feel like there's something up that you're not dealing with it, but it's kind of right in the crevices of your mind, and maybe other talking therapies you haven't been able to access it. This is why I say it is a bit like an enema. They will get it out of you and they will make you deal with it, but it's an incredibly supportive way. It is intense, but it's an absolutely incredible thing. And I'm so grateful that the Hoffman process exists, and Serena Gordon's the kind of lead practitioner in the UK, and she's just such a lovely person and creates such it's hard to explain how they create such a wonderful, warm atmosphere. Like, you feel like you're at home. You feel like you're with family. And then they get you to talk about probably the most difficult things you've ever had to deal with in your life, but in this amazing environment. So I went and did the mini Hoffman, and 2 weeks ago, and I'm still a little bit floaty, I would say, from it.
I love this. And I'm so pleased that you found it beneficial. That's really, really
great. So beneficial. If you want to find out more about it, obviously you can just Google Hoffman. I actually had forgotten, but was recently reminded that after the first Hoffman, they interviewed me for Hoffman magazine. I didn't even remember that. But actually, if you Google Emilie West Hoffman, you'll see my interview where I talk a bit more about what's involved and
it's a picture
what
of you
I
and
changed.
Cleo, right?
There is a picture of me and Cleo in that.
I've seen this when I've been looking for images for our podcast.
Oh, have you?
Yes, when I'm looking for an image of you and I'm like, don't bother her for a headshot. I've been trawling the internet.
Yeah,
and I've seen it. Yes.
So it's on there, and the reason I did that, because I'm actually a super private person, even though we have a podcast, but about talking about my personal life.
Yeah.
But I really felt, that some people go into the Hoffman having experienced very severe trauma. And so sometimes people might read the write-up of the Hoffman and think, that isn't for me. And I went in not having experienced very serious trauma, but I wanted to share my experience. And someone actually messaged me later saying they'd read my article and then they'd gone and done the Hoffman, which made me feel like the whole thing was worthwhile.
Brilliant.
So I'd forgotten that I'd shared more about it. So you can share a bit about what happens in the Hoffman, but they don't want you to share everything that happens, because part of the magic is you go in and you don't know what's going to happen. And it's very well designed. So they're kind of trying to trick your brain into certain things as well. So you'll see people will talk about it, and we talk about some of the things that happen, but it's one of those things that you have to maybe take a bit of a leap of faith. If you read around it, if for some reason it's speaking to you, then consider going on it. And I personally, I can't imagine someone going on it and regretting it. And also they vet you. So they make sure it's the right time for you as well. So yeah, an amazing experience. I'm very grateful that I got to go.
That's amazing. And that, do you know, in terms of what I've been doing this week, you've done that and I wanted to talk about something I did for my physical health.
What did you do?
So I went to see a lovely lady called Camilla.
Yes.
And she is the practitioner who helps facilitate private blood checks.
Yes, and we've met her through Breakthrough.
Exactly, and she is amazing. She did a massive hike in the Sahara Desert. That's a whole nother story. So she's automatically a bad bitch, but she facilitates these private blood checks, and they do 56 biomarkers, and they go through everything. So they will talk about like your health of your red blood cells, your white blood cells, your hormones, your cortisol, your adrenaline, everything, your iron levels, everything. So I went and had this done, and Camilla is super amazing. She's very supportive, very knowledgeable what she does, and she's actually picked up, well, the blood check has picked up like quite a big thing that explains a lot of things about my health.
Oh, interesting.
And so I just can't recommend Camilla enough in terms of making you aware of these things, and then also sort of pointing you in the right direction of doing things that can help support, improve the things that you've got going on. So yeah, that was a really good thing for me to go and do, and I'm really pleased that I did it.
How can people find out more about Camilla and access that themselves?
I will put her details in our caption and our show notes, but if you Google Camilla Seton, and
is that Setten?
Seton.
Okay.
But she's had her own health challenges, and also she's a real advocate for the power of blood work, because her thing is that your bloods don't lie.
No, it's so helpful. I do it myself, and I do it for clients as well. And you know, in the UK we have a national health service, and so private health isn't as ubiquitous in the US. In the US it's much easier and more normal to access these tests. But you can't rely on the NHS.
No.
The NHS aren't proactively managing your health. They're there for you when you have a health problem.
Exactly.
And so because we don't have that system here, we all, especially as we get older, we all should be self-responsible and do those tests at least once a year to check where you are and to check what you need, because nobody else is watching. And, you know, say, for example, when you have a heart attack, you've had some form of heart disease in your body for 10 years.
Exactly.
But the doctor's not checking you until you have the heart attack.
Exactly.
So this is where we have to be self-responsible, and that is a brilliant service. So highly recommended.
Yes. And Camilla is all about like longevity and optimization, because what she will do as well when she looks at your blood test results is you may be within like the particular range, but it may not be optimal for you.
Yes.
So she'll then sort of help guide you to potential like solutions, and it's just so invaluable. And a lot of women will go to her saying, I just don't feel like me. And that is where she steps in, and the private blood test comes in to help you find that way back to you. And I can't recommend her enough.
Amazing. And that's especially for women when we go through hormonal changes. You know, there's so many people I know who said they didn't feel like them, and they were going through the perimenopause, and the doctors didn't pick it up, and they were really struggling. And that's where, again, you can go and pay for your private hormone test to check those things out. If you don't feel right, don't let somebody else tell you that it's all fine.
Exactly.
Like, keep going until you get the help you need.
As I say to my clients when we talk about in session how we're going to move forward, they are the expert on them. You are the expert on you.
Yes.
So be proactive in supporting your longevity and optimization.
Great tip.
Okay.
Are we going to talk about pop culture?
We are.
What's happening?
We have the Practical Magic 2 trailer.
Wow.
So this is very exciting.
How
long?
No, I was going to, how long ago was it? And also I was going to say, how old are Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock? Because you can't tell looking at them how old they are.
No.
Anymore.
I am going to say that I was young when the first film came out, because I remember being terrified by it.
There's nothing scary in
Of course, they buried her boyfriend in the front yard, and then and then he comes alive again.
Oh, I don't remember.
And he gets possessed. He possesses Nicole Kidman.
I'm older than you, so maybe I was just less scared at that point.
I get scared about everything, but it was such a great film, and it's like the trailer
was great.
Yes,
and female led,
And I feel like it's connecting. You saying, first of all, before we'll part that, because we're going to come back to the important sentiment. Stockard Channing, who is in Greece, is back in Practical Magic 2, and she just looks like she hasn't aged at all.
Yeah, how is this happening?
Phenomenal. And Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, I don't know what their 50s. They all look incredible, but this is like a reawakening that it's obviously trading a lot on nostalgia, but I feel like the reason that women connect so heavily within that practical magic, the 1 and 2, it's about that sisterhood,
Yes.
showing up for each other, having each other's backs no matter what, even to the point where you feel like you are treated a bit like an outsider, and it's finding your people, because obviously
Yes.
they are treated as outsiders because they are witches.
Yes.
And it's about finding your tribe and having those people that really do have your back no matter what.
It's so important. And the sisterhood is a real phenomenon. I think most women do have each other's backs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I moved here, I immediately was very lucky to fall into a fantastic group of female friends that were all on a WhatsApp. Anyone has an emergency, we're instinctively there for each other. I think women do understand that also women can be vulnerable,
Yes,
and need support. And in fact, someone was telling me recently a story where they're a man and they had said something critical about another woman who wasn't there. And the women they were talking to all reacted very strongly. And they were like, I don't understand. Why were these women so upset? And I said, oh, because you pushed on the sisterhood button.
Yeah.
Even though they possibly logically actually agreed with what you said, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If that's a man criticising a woman, we're not having it.
Exactly, 100%.
And there's something I really love about that. And women should stand up for other women. But sometimes people get on the wrong side of that. They don't really understand how they've accidentally trodden on a mine.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, you don't even know what you just stepped on right there. That's like a big problem. But I love that. And I really think, that is a great part of being a woman, is having that support and like us meeting each other. And I'm going to talk about networking today,
yes.
but so serendipitous, and then an immediate recognition that we're each other's people, and immediate instant support for each other.
Yes.
And that is, I think, let's be honest, a lot of our female friendships will outlive our romantic relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that support is it's almost beyond words to describe how important and wonderful that is.
Exactly. And it's like we say, it's like I'm a multi-purpose friend. It's like
you really are. You honestly, I don't think there's anything I couldn't call you up and you would somehow solve it or do it.
Afternoon tea, trampolining, church, like aggravated assault.
Yes. And just you really are, you are the multi-purpose friend of all friends.
I'm up for anything.
100%.
Yeah. Church.
Yeah.
Burning.
Church, arson.
Yeah.
Whatever you need. No, we need people like that. And that's also why we need lots of friends, because people do bring different things to relationships.
Yes.
But I think you're right. It's kind of hit on, maybe there's been something in the kind of movement of social media and Instagram where women started becoming more competitive with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe women are coming back to like moving away from that, which they really should, because we're in a much more powerful position if we look after each other.
Yes. So yes, the teaser trailer is here.
Well, tell me about the trailer. Does it look good? Because this is a problem with the sequel. It could be great. It could be terrible.
I mean, you've got obviously like the teaspoon like moving in the cup by itself, which is an iconic moment. You've got the lime and the coconut song playing. They obviously they reference back to the first film. There's not really much, because it's a teaser trailer.
It's a real teaser, yeah. So there's not a lot to go on.
No, there's not, apart from it will be okay. Is it going to be the kind of okay where we had to bury your boyfriend in the garden last time? But it's just like I suppose it's like, you can think of it as the studio's opening bid to what we can expect when the film is released on 9/11.
Oh,
very interesting choice.
What do you think that's about?
I am not sure, especially because I think it might be the 25th anniversary.
Is it really?
Yeah, it might be.
Gosh, that is very. We were talking last time about commercial decisions made in the film industry. There's one of the best books you can read about the film industry is a book called "You'll Never Eat Lunch in This Town Again." Have you heard of it?
I think I have. Yes,
it's an incredible book. If anyone's interested in film, and unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the lady who wrote it. I think it was Carol something. She was the first female producer to win an Oscar. And she won it for the film The Sting.
Okay.
And she then got into tax trouble, as a lot of people do in the US. And so to pay her taxes, she wrote a tell-all, and she did not keep anyone's secrets.
Oh, I love this.
She just burnt the bridges. She just went for it. And and that's why the book's called "You'll Never Eat Lunch in This Town Again," because she then got banned from every every LA Hollywood restaurant because all the celebrities, You know, she literally wrote everything about
I
Barbara
need to read this
Streisand,
book.
Robert Redford. It's one of my favourite books
What did
ever.
she write about Robert Redford?
Oh, I mean, he is exactly as you want him to be, just like unbelievably dashing and charismatic. So she was very nice about him.
Can we take I know we're not, we're going to do a very low key into sex. We're not talking about sex, but it's like in Indecent Proposal.
Yes.
I'm like, is it even, obviously, yes, moralistic side of point. Is it even a decision that you want to sleep with Robert Redford?
That version of Robert Redford. Yeah, I mean, he was so attractive, and the way she describes him in this book, he basically appears to be irresistible.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
I'm going to look at this book.
Absolutely fantastic book, and it's very well written. And it's the most candid thing you've ever read. But what's really interesting, what I found interesting, is she reveals the under the hood about how movies get made.
Mm-hmm.
And you realise that it's a miracle that any movie makes it to the theatre.
Okay.
Like, because actors, it turns out, are very temperamental people.
Yes.
Then there's lots of elements of production, including things even like taxes.
It's like running a city, right?
It is like running a city. And it really gave me such an appreciation for that. But then you think, oh, film practical magic. You think, oh, people were just in a room and they had a discussion, or why don't we bring that back?
Yeah.
But there's so much more going on behind that.
Yes.
And then arguments about release dates, and then there's scripts and there's rewrites and all these things. It really is a fascinating industry.
I mean, because as well, it's like just even to get back, like the main 4 character is like...
how do you line that up?
And then line everyone's schedules.
And these aren't people without egos, let's be honest. You don't
Mm.
become that successful
Mhm.
and then not have your demands of how you want that film to be. So then the stars, you know, when they are in that first movie, they don't have that star power.
Mhm.
Now Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock, they can be calling the shots,
Mhm.
which could be a good thing. Or it could be a bad thing, because you end up with movies being distorted by actors' demands,
Mhm.
and the director's no longer really in control of it.
Mhm. That you just reminded me of something interesting. You know, we talked about on another podcast episode about the lighting
Yes.
and how it affects it. One other thing is that Anne Hathaway, about the Devil Wears Prada 2 and it being shot in that more clinical light rather than the warm tones of the previous, is because Anne Hathaway specifies she can only be lit in a certain way.
But I mean, I think lots of stars specify they can only be lit in a certain way.
Really?
Yes. That's
Mm.
very normal. And they'll even go on chat shows and insist that they have to sit in a certain way to have their best side shown.
This is so funny to me because I'm now like, okay, I'm not as high maintenance as I think I am.
You really aren't high maintenance at all, darling. But that's an interesting point as well. The term high maintenance, when applied to women, generally seen as an insult.
Mm.
I think we should be high maintenance. But high maintenance to me is just like, we should have high standards for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go and be a diva, and if I go on someone else's podcast, have a massive rider and insist on, like, that. I don't believe in that. But I think we should demand respect, and we should have high standards for ourselves, and we should say, no, I want to dress well and be lit well, and like, I don't think that's a problem personally.
Mm-hmm. I suppose it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to. But yes, so yeah, Practical Magic 2. Very excited about this.
And there's something lovely about a witch movie. One of my favourite movies of all time is Hocus Pocus.
Is it?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you watch the second one?
I did watch the second one, although I can't remember it, which tells me it wasn't so amazing. But
No,
the first one is just absolutely brilliant.
Another film that terrified me when I was young.
Oh, so maybe you just had a fear of witchy things.
Yes.
Which
I think
love
it
them.
stems from the Wicked Witch of the West in Wizard of Oz.
Oh, that is
who's
scary.
legit terrifying.
No, that is a scary movie, but also a brilliant film.
Yes.
Right.
Let's talk about networking.
Yeah, I was going to say, I completely lost what we were talking about. What are we talking about
We're talking
today?
about networking.
There's no segue.
Power of the
I don't
sisterhood.
think there's a segue from Hocus Pocus to networking.
I think there was, because it's like it's not Hocus Pocus. Well, yes, because you're in the tribe and they've cultivated. They are the sisters. It's that
the
sisterhood, and it's creating your sisterhood through networking.
Well, you did it. Well done.
Somehow.
Shall we start with? Well, here's a question: do we start with why it's important to network, or do we start with why people don't like it?
I think because I feel like people will know that like networking is important, and because you know we talk about it, and we always talk about like your power of your tribe. So I feel like it would be helpful to explore why people don't like it and how to kind of move forward. Yes.
Okay. Do you want to kick off, or shall I?
Go for it.
I'll go. Okay. I think there are a few main reasons people don't like networking. The first one is just the fear of rejection that we're always talking about. You go in a room with people you don't know. You're going to, one of my clients recently went to a conference where everyone knew each other apart from him, and he's a real introvert. I felt so bad for him. You know what? He pushed through it. He butted into a conversation. He had a great time. But it's that fear of, I'm going to go there, no one's going to want to talk to me. So that's obviously one.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is it can feel quite transactional,
Mm-hmm.
and people can just feel a bit icky about that. And I think
Yes.
today we can really talk about how to get over that,
Mm-hmm.
but it can feel transactional and unpleasant. It also can just take a lot of time.
Yes.
So if you're busy doing your job or running your business, and you know, I run a mentoring group for female entrepreneurs, and often they'll just say, oh, I know I need to do more of that, but it's never the priority.
Yes.
So it can seem time consuming, and because you don't get necessarily an instant result, like I see networking as a real investment. Some of your networking now won't pay off for 2-3 years.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
That it just is very, very easy. If you don't love it, which most people don't, it's very easy to just keep deprioritizing it.
Exactly. And it is because it's that slow burn. And like anything in life, it's about building that relationship,
Yes.
building that trust. Like we said, like we've been in the same room as like Camilla, like many times. And mostly as well, it's because of my disorganization. And I've been like, I must get round to that. I must get round to that.
Yes.
But it's taken like at least 6 months, 12 months for me to get round to actually going, right, now is the time I need to do that and have that conversation and being in the same room. But I feel like a great starting point to start doing like networking is to put yourself in the right room. Not only in the right room that you will make useful connections, even if they are a slow burn, but the right rooms where you're going to feel more confident about networking in the future.
So what would make something a right or a wrong room for someone?
I feel like, so it will be you can get a sense of like by the networking group, say name, or like the locations, I would maybe even say, and the kind of people that attend, the kind of businesses, you'll get a gut feeling as to whether it's going to be your vibe or not.
Oh, well, that's so funny because we met through Breakthrough Women.
Yes.
So already the name.
Yes.
And I think that was my first event with Breakthrough. Was it your first event?
It was, I feel like it was definitely, it wasn't my first one, but it was the first one of that smaller size.
And then it was at the lovely Balfour Winery,
Yes.
which I love going to.
And shout out to Do and Seb. Brilliant.
Do and Seb.
I can't wait to tell Deb I called her that.
To Sue and Deb.
Sue and Deb for their amazing networking events.
Yes. So so there was, you're right, it seemed like a setting that we would both enjoy and the kind of event we were both like.
Yes.
And then we went, and I met several people I like there, but
Yes.
and you and I had this kind of instant connection. So you immediately feel like you're going into like a warm environment. You're not going into something that you're immediately more of an outsider
Exactly.
in.
Exactly. So you're not going to a flipping like 7 a.m. in the city.
Oh my God.
And
people keep inviting me to networking at 6:30 or 7 in the morning.
That's the other
And
thing.
I just think, who is going to this? But I suppose
Right
it's
room.
the morning people are going to them.
Yes. Is it the right name? Is it the right location? Is it the right time? Are people going to
Oh
get
my
your
God.
best
You will
self?
not get my best self at 7
No,
a.m.
I'm just
ever.
like, dude, who's doing it? I just can't do it. And I get why we're doing it, because it's like, it's for those busy people that can do it before like they go to work, they can
Yes.
get that done. And then if people are doing lunchtime events, it's before like the women who have children will go and pick them up. Evening ones. So yes, there will be different events at different times, but it's finding the one that works for you and also your peak energy as well.
Yes. And yeah, absolutely. It's like we also talk about setting yourself up for success.
Yes.
So it's going to be a nice venue at a nice time. Often, I think an important thing is that it's covering a topic that's of genuine interest to you.
Yes.
Because then not only will you get something out of hearing the speakers, for example, if
Yeah.
there's a speaker at this event, but you will naturally have a topic to discuss with the other
Yes.
people. Sometimes you see people target events for networking, but they're not actually that interested in the topic. And then they don't have that common ground to discuss with the people there. It's a bit more forced.
Exactly. And if you can go in and establish common ground quickly, that immediately makes you feel more comfortable.
Yes.
And it just makes you feel like, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought. And I think as well, when you start that networking, when you go into, not only is it the right room, but when you go into that room, don't be in a rush to immediately like run into like the first conversation.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with sort of just taking in fact, you look more like powerful and in control if you come in the room and you stand and you assess and you look around.
Yeah.
And you get the lay of the land, and it sends a very powerful message to everyone else in the room. And also it helps you just take a moment and see like, okay, where do I want to be?
Well, you can pick up people's energy.
Exactly.
Feel who's receptive. Now, I'm obviously very extroverted, but when I was younger, I was still terrified of networking because it's still that rejection. What will people think of me? So my thing would be, I would go straight to where they were serving tea and coffee, because
Yes.
people will go there.
Mhm.
And my rule was I speak to whoever's next to me in the queue, which I
Nice.
actually still do now.
Yeah.
And so that immediately got me into a conversation with someone. And often the person who you're talking to is also feeling a bit awkward.
Exactly.
So they're actually really grateful that you've just started a conversation with them,
Yes.
versus if you butt into, which I've also done, butt into people's conversation where it turns out they're three best friends who haven't seen each other in months.
Yes.
They want to share their gossip about somebody else. And then you're just randomly going in going, oh, hello, pleased to meet you, I'm Emily. And then you're like, get out of my conversation. We're just getting to the juicy bit of this conversation. So actually finding people who are on their own
Yes.
and chatting with them, they'll be so grateful for you doing that as well.
Exactly. And the tea stand is really great, or the breakfast queue.
Yes.
Because all people eat food and they will have some kind of drink, you know. You can just be like, oh, I'm dying. I'm so thrilled I get a cup of tea.
Yes.
Or, my gosh, look, this breakfast spread looks really great. What are you thinking of having? Because I
Yes.
can't make a decision. And like just being really sort of casual.
Just ease into it.
Exactly. And that is very key, I think, as when you're actually starting to go into that interactions, people by people. And it's honestly like most like networking conversations, it's not even to start off by like, how are you the worst conversations are, how are you useful to me? And
Yes.
how am I useful to you? And I hate it when people will come up to me and they're like, oh, so what do you do? I do this. And I just want to know more about the person. I want to know what lights them up. I want to
Yes.
know what makes them tick, because that really establishes that real connection.
Well, what you've hit on there is showing genuine curiosity.
Yeah.
Because people often come to me who need coaching in their careers and they know they need to network, but they
Mhm.
feel really uncomfortable doing it. And often it's because it feels really transactional.
Yes.
So I will say to them, right, go to this event and your only goal is to be curious about people.
Yeah.
That's literally it. You're not trying to get anything back. Just go around and show genuine interest to people. And yes, it might be asking them about their work, but it just seeing what lights them up. Or
Yes.
a great question is, what brought you here today?
Yes.
Because
Exactly.
that could be many things that they say to that. And show genuine curiosity, really listen, ask some follow-up questions. That's how you build real connection. You don't, because people say, I don't have an elevator pitch. No one wants you to go
No.
up and say your name and give your elevator pitch. So the first thing I say is just like, go and be really curious about people. Try and find out interesting things. Maybe then start introducing other people to each other, even at that event. You might say,
Yes.
oh, actually, have you spoken to Julia? She's a perfect person to talk to about this.
Exactly.
So you could even become more of a connector. And when you make that focus about other people, you just also feel less self-conscious.
Exactly that. And then again, that's that right room thing. If you're worried about like not having an elevator pitch, networking events where you all sit around the table and then you take 30 seconds to stand up and do your pitch, that's probably not one for you. Whereas one where you go to, perhaps that there's a inspirational speaker,
Yes.
or something that's a bit more like low key, or in Deb and Sue's events where they do the shout out for you.
Oh, they're so good at that.
That's a right room for you, because you want to dial down the stakes, and you want to like not load so much sort of like heaviness and urgency about it.
Yes. Well, talking about dialing down the stakes, one of the things I like to help my clients get over who are very introverted and don't like networking is just the fear of talking to strangers.
Mm-hmm.
So what I suggest that they do is don't do it at work networking events. Start doing it out and about.
Yes.
So I'll say, next time you order a coffee, start a conversation with the barista.
Yes.
Then once you can get to barista level conversation, start a conversation or just make a comment to the person next to you in the
Yes.
queue, which I know some people find horrendous, but just start talking to that person. Or in the street, go up to someone and ask them for directions, even if you know where you're going.
Yes.
Ask someone for the time. Just start practicing talking to strangers where it does not matter if they reject you
Talk
at
to
all.
people with dogs, because
Yes.
because
People love talking about their dogs.
everyone, or a cute child.
Yes.
You can. That is a very easy in. Even if
Yeah.
you just talk to the dog or talk to the child, then that opens that up.
And
for
then
that dynamic.
we're always talking about getting evidence. Then your
Yeah.
brain's seeing the evidence
Yeah.
that I can talk to strangers and nothing bad happens.
Yeah.
But also, you actually get a chance to practice the skill of small talk.
Yes.
Because a big part of networking is a bit about small talk, making someone else comfortable, just finding a way in to have a little chit chat. I love a compliment, I mean, receiving and giving.
Yes.
So if I don't give ungenuine ones, but sometimes you see someone and you think, wow, I love
Yes.
your outfit. Just
Yes.
go up to that person.
Yeah.
Not even at networking, just in life. Go up to someone
Yeah.
and say, don't you look fantastic? You'll probably make their day.
People love
anyway.
it really
Right?
lands
So
nicely.
it's a nice thing. And you're, again, developing that skill of how do you gently start a conversation. So then when you go to the next networking thing, your brain will be like, oh, this is fine. It's just talking to strangers.
Exactly. So it's like, practicing on the low stakes and putting yourself in the right places. And I would also have you got anything you want to add about the actual networking event?
Yes.
Go for it.
Well, because let's be honest, though, we are there as a transaction, actually. And, something I'll often say to my clients is networking is a whole system. So we all sign up to it. We recognise we have to pay in, and we will also at various points ask people for favours and help. So don't see it as a one-to-one transaction. When you go to a networking event, when you make new contacts, find out how you can help people there. And if it doesn't take you a lot of time, pay in and help them.
Yes.
But also, don't be afraid to ask someone for help.
No.
Because actually, most of us, when we've been approached and asked for help by someone, we're actually happy to help them if we can.
Exactly that.
And we're actually flattered to be asked. And we feel good when we've done it. So by not asking someone, you might be depriving them the opportunity to do something good. So just see it as a whole system that you need to go and pay in. But also part of it is that you should feel comfortable asking people. But ideally, the first time you're interacting with people, you're showing interest, you're seeing how you can help them. Then it's all about how do you keep those contacts warm? And so do you want to schedule a coffee with that person, or is it just a check-in? Or through the powers of LinkedIn, it's amazing how you can just comment and like on things they do. So you feel like a warm contact.
Yes.
And then at some point, if you need to reach out, you can. I actually just had a client recently where the company they work for had a debacle, is the only way to describe it. And they suddenly needed a lot of outside help. And because they've been networking over the years without knowing why they were doing it, but just because they understood the investment, they suddenly had all these people on their LinkedIn and in their phone who were actually really helpful. And they reached out to about 20 different people asking for help. And most of them helped them.
That's amazing.
Even though some of them they haven't spoken to in ages. Isn't that amazing?
That's really good.
So it's an investment you're making now. You don't necessarily know why.
No.
But just recognise it's not just enough to just go and say hi to someone, connect with them on LinkedIn, find a way to keep that a little bit warm. Also share content yourself so you're staying visible to people.
And typically, after I have finished networking, the people I've had conversations with, I'll just send them a little message, like a text.
Yes.
Just to say, it was so great to meet you today. And then I'll reference something funny that we talked about. Or it'll be like, I saw this Instagram reel, and it really made me laugh because it made me think about like when we talked about that other podcast or something like that. And it's amazing how you can build that connection. And most people, they get networking is a longer burn, and really they're just happy to sort of connect and like establish that connection. And also as well, it's not that you're just also at networking with that person that's in front of you, but it's also how they then represent you.
Oh yes, how are they going to talk about you
to their network?
So you do need to feed them a bit of information about you. It is worth saying, I'll talk about what I love doing. So I love helping people have more successful careers and be less stressed while they do it. So that's something people can remember.
Yes. And then it's like, because then and that whole point of like touching base with them afterwards, because it shows that you were genuinely invested in that conversation, connecting on LinkedIn, the likes and the occasional comment just keep you visible, so that when, say, for example, someone comes up to them and is like, I'm having a terrible time in my career, they go straight away, you need to speak to Emilie.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You've got to stay visible. I want to make a final point, unless have you got a final thought on this?
No.
About exiting conversations.
Okay, this is a good one, yes.
Because it's great to show interest, but sometimes you go up to someone and start talking to them and you ask them a question and then they just talk at you about themselves. They don't ask you anything and they just keep going. Now, you are there to meet more than one person.
Yes.
So this is about how you gracefully exit so you can move on to talk to somebody else without being rude. And I know some people really struggle with that because they feel so rude ending the conversation. So we always talk about having some stock phrases or things to be ready to say and just saying to someone, oh, I've loved meeting you. I'm going to connect. I just want to go and catch up with so-and-so or let's make sure we both kind of meet some new people or have you met that person? If you're finding it really awkward, nothing wrong with saying, oh, I'm just going to get a drink or I'm just going to go and use the ladies' room.
Yes.
But don't let yourself, out of politeness, you've made the effort to go to this networking event. You're in a room full of contacts. Don't let your politeness mean that one person hogs you for the whole event.
Yes. you've just triggered my mind with another thought. If you are and you said about having the lines prepared. So if you are nervous about going, have like a couple of topics that you can pull on that you're prepared to talk about. Don't make it
interesting, yeah.
like anything like political or controversial or negative, because you don't want to be seen as a Debbie Downer.
No.
So like if you've just got a couple of like things like, I can really talk about X, Y, and Z. My goodness, I go into networking and I'm like, I will talk about the Practical Magic trailer, you know, because I'm in the right room to have that conversation, you know, or I might go into a different one and I'll talk about like F1 or this car launch or this watch or something random, because it's just something that shows that it's a safe topic, it's positive, but it also just gives you like an insight to the person that you're talking to about your character.
Now, in the realm that I operate, that actually isn't always the best approach. So I go in prepared with very current affairs things to talk about. Often people do want to talk about politics or what's going on in the kind of in the macroeconomic sphere, because that's what impacts their business. And so I'm very quickly establishing with them that credentials and that I'm knowledgeable in the thing that they're interested in, because a lot of these people are in high pressure jobs, dealing with stressful situations. So if they're going to hire me to help them, I need to demonstrate that I understand their landscape. So again, it is also about picking why you're there, like really knowing your audience, what's the crowd interested in. So I will be reading like financial press if I'm going into something in the financial sector on the way in. But absolutely, like you, I'll be thinking, what could be of interest to this person?
Those people in those rooms.
Yes, or like what are the topics or what are the questions that they have? You know, obviously so many people are talking about AI and how it impacts professional services, but it's making sure that it's not just my opinion, that I've read something interesting and informed that I can share on the way in, and people respond really well to that as well.
No, that's really good. I love that.
Amazing. And, you know, we met through networking. So it's not just about work.
No.
Networking, it might be for work, but you might meet the most incredible people who become lifelong friends just by doing that. And also I've had clients do their best networking when they weren't working, like other parents at the school gate, down the pub, a cycling group. So don't think of networking as just going to a networking event or a conference. Every interaction with a human being is a networking opportunity.
100%. Love that. That was a great one.
Amazing.
And talking about networking, feel free to reach out to us and network with us. And if we can be of support, please reach out, and we would love to hear from you as to what you think of the show, if there's anything we can improve on. And we look forward to seeing you next time.